everybody. Thanks so much for bearing with us, and so sorry about the delay, but we do appreciate you hanging on. And welcome, a little bit of a late welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be looking at expanding your solution to N. So my name is Maria Marzec-Smith, and I am the head of sales here at ProVu Communications. And joining us today is Matt Raban, the channel distribution manager at 2N. How are you doing there, Matt?
Hi, good morning, Anna. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. All right, apart from the little hiccup this morning, but other than that, all good, ready and raring to go. How about you?
I know what you mean, Matt. I think these things happen from time to time, and patience is certainly something we need to bear with and things like that. But no, it's busy at the moment, very busy time. Record month for 2M last month, which is very nice to sort of hear about and experience. So yeah, very interesting talking to some people today about our products and how we can help you.
Wonderful. Well, before we get into it, today we're going to be giving you an overview of the 2N Intercom range, just to show you what it can really do and that it is more than just an intercom. So you're going to see lots of cool features, plus we also have some super helpful services from ProVu to go over, which are more just there to aid you, and hopefully today to also show you that we are more than just a distributor. A tiny bit of housekeeping as well. We will be taking questions at the end, so if you want to send your questions as we go along, and we'll pick that up in our Q&A section. So you should see a little speech bubble on the right-hand side. And now I'm going to hand you over to Matt to take us through our agenda for today and the rest. So take it away, Matt.
Hello again. So yes, we're going to talk over the intercoms and essentially what our units do for you guys, or what they can do for your customers as well. A little bit of an overview on the different options we do with them as well. Anna's right, they're very much more than an intercom nowadays. Like most things, I think the closest thing you can liken it to is probably the use of a mobile phone over the last sort of 10 or 15 years. Sort of changed quite a bit from just making phone calls and text messages. And then to complement our intercoms, we have a very extensive range of answer units to fit different budgets, different levels of fit out with people's apartments and offices and things like that. The other thing we tend to do very successfully at the moment is something called our mobile video service, which is a very secure service, very different from other people's, doesn't rely on other people's servers, that sort of thing. Very secure comms, which is very important nowadays in most systems. And to complement our offering, we have something called the Access Commander software, and essentially what that will do for you is offer remote setup of different devices. You'll see a little shot of it there actually on that PC screen there. So different devices, different location, people, identifiers is what we call things like fobs, phones, codes, that sort of thing. And then generally what ProVu can do to add value to your businesses, whether you're a reseller, from the comm side or maybe the security side. A lot of our team has a lot of experience on that side of things, including myself, that started in the secure industry as an installation engineer back in 1991. So it's changed a little bit since then. A few more computers in place, hey ho, and we know what they're like. Sometimes they can let us down if we're not looking after the different systems that we have a look at. But yeah, very holistic overview today. We have some more in-depth training available if you want to contact Anna or her team at ProVu to arrange that with myself. Did you want to pop across to the next slide? Awesome. Okay, so here we have this our IP Verso. So this is our top of the line, most luxurious intercom that we do. It's actually the intercom that comes with the most different options, or tailorability, I suppose is a good word to use there. You'll notice from the images on the left-hand side, there are various options available. Some sample of the different modules that we have there, starting from the color difference. Obviously, there we have brushed alley, or certainly the black type devices too. They're available in flush or surface as well. You can actually also install our intercoms on glass for a special black plate we have, and also on uneven surfaces. To give you a rundown of the actual modules there, the first one you can see with the button and the 2N logo on is our intercom itself, that then links down to different modules below. So if I go from the left-hand side first, you have something called contacts at the top there. You can literally press on that, swipe up, and access yourself to 10,000 contacts. If you imagine how many buttons you need to do something like that, if you have a look at the picture on the right-hand side, the 5-button module there, So big space saving, big cost saving available there. Now, some of the MDUs we do will have upwards of 500 people in there. So, you know, some very big systems and some organisation that takes place on those. You'll also notice that there is a like a square with an arrow pointed to it there. That's actually gives you access to our entry pad. So if somebody is using a code as opposed to another identifier, they can go through that door. And the other nice thing it does, it will randomize as well. So if somebody is looking over your shoulder, it's not so obvious which button's been pressed where. Bottom left-hand side there, you'll see two logos on the bottom module there. The first larger one is the RFID. We do two versions of that. We do a 13.56 and a 125, and we also do the Bluetooth credential opening now as well. What's not shown on there is one of our biometric fingerprint readers, which of course these days is probably something that's sort of taking a bit of a backseat with COVID and whatnot, but all the other modules we do can be wiped down, can be kept clean. There's also a thermal washdown with our IP4 as well. We'll talk about a little bit later. We do things like induction loops and things like that, which you'll see on the black bottom of that intercom there, and also a mixture of RFID and keypad if required. Now, that can be used in two different ways. It might be that some people prefer to use a code, or maybe a cleaner has a code where maybe somebody who is a resident there would have an RFID card, or they have to actually enter both to actually gain entry, giving you a much more secure system. Or you could use the keypad there to dial flat numbers and things like that. So there are many, many different options available with Verso. One thing to mention about Verso as well is you don't actually need a supply of hardwired internet to it. You can actually use the LTE versions nowadays that have all the options of what a Verso would do, but for the benefit of getting through to the My2N service, which is our cloud service that we'll talk about later on via a SIM card. So let's probably hear a few questions on that later because there's a lot of options available, but that's IP Verso for you. The other thing that we tend to do a lot of nowadays is access control, because it complements what we do on the front door, if you like. So other areas in the buildings, we have different access control readers, which will share the technologies such as RFID, 13.56, 125, Bluetooth, and a mixture of both. And you'll also notice down there's two pictures of two solo intercoms rather than access units. Those units there are essentially if you're not requiring any access control into the building. So maybe if it's somebody like a holiday home or something like that, or maybe it's an office, something like this, we have a manual lock on there. We can just do the comms of the audio video side of things. The black readers you see at the top are actually our slimline readers. They're million readers, so you can get those in that version there. You can also get them look very similar to the two intercoms at the bottom there. And that's also available in flush and surface as well. IP Solo, which is the one I was just talking about there, essentially is the compact home automation device as well. So with that unit there, you can link that to things like Crestron and Control4, 3CX, those sorts of systems too. Probably a good idea to talk about integration at this point as well. 2N as a company, certainly a telecoms company, integrates with most IPPBXs and most phone systems as well. And there's actually a guide on our website, or something we cover in training, which is an interoperability guide, which will help you obviously choose the right product for that particular system that you have in place. It'll also tell you what level of integration is there, whether it's just audio and video, or maybe just audio only. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so I mentioned very briefly before when I was talking about Verso that we had a washdown device as well. This is also our high security, I was going to say vandal resistant, but it's actually tank proof. If you, any YouTube viewers out there, if you go and have a little look on YouTube later for 2N endurance tests, you'll notice somebody in flip-flops driving a tank over one of those things, picking it up, plugging it in, and it working straight away. You might think that's quite a strange thing to do with an intercom, but hey, you know, if it's going to survive a tank, it'll probably survive somebody's wing mirror, baseball bat, or various other bits and pieces of attacks that we have in some locations. It gets used in a lot of military installations, police, or port authorities, or the other one, because it's so waterproof, IP69K, as I mentioned before, you could steam pressure wash the thing. down in factory areas. If you live next to Wales, like I do, where it tends to rain sideways, it's very useful for using in some locations that aren't necessarily covered or sheltered, so farms and fisheries, that sort of places. They're in different versions. Thing with these ones, you do need to get your choice right in the first instance, because those front plates, like I say, they're securely fixed. You can't change them. So it's very important to decide how many buttons you want, whether you want pictograms, which is what you can see on the left-hand side above the single button with a reader module below. It does come in a single button version, 4-button version, with or without cameras, that sort of thing. But if you need something that's going to literally outlast the planet, that's one of those, that's certainly the unit for you guys. They're super tough. We've actually had things, the intercom's still working when it's been struck on a post by HGV before, and we've literally just had to concrete the bases back in and off the pop. So very, very resilient. Next slide, please. Okay, this is IP based, so a little bit different to the rest of them. It's a slightly more cost-effective offering. A lot of people tend to keep these in stock actually when they get used to working with 2M and supply the systems, and certainly start to sell a few. Main reason for it is it's a surface device that has 1 or 2 buttons in the main box, and you can add an access control unit to it, such as you desire. Now, most of the smaller systems, or the run-of-the-mill systems, as we tend to call them, would be either a 1 or 2 button system. We also find working with people with the visually impaired, or certainly my mother that probably has rather large lenses in her glasses, a larger button does tend to help people. Or if people are working from home, it might say office, it might say home, it might say deliveries, it might say house, it might say kids upstairs, it might say parents downstairs maybe. But it's very, very cost-effective device where you can laterally add and change it to suit your needs. Certainly not out of place on anybody's home. Next slide, please. Answer units. Okay, so a few different ones. We have these available in either black or white. We also do a SIP handset for audio only too, which would go in place of the indoor talk. If you didn't want a wall touch unit, you could use literally a handset version. We have that black and white as well. Most people tend to opt for audio video nowadays because, well, it's the cameras in the device. It makes sense to do so, and it's very good to see that whoever's calling is actually who they say they are, and also missed call shots, that sort of thing is very useful. We do burst shots towards our intercoms as well. So that was familiar with the good old game Knock It All Run years ago. Unfortunately, we're going to nick you. We're going to get on the way to the button, and there's no way around that one. We also have various alarm detection that's available through the intercom itself, and different technologies to sense people on that side. Indoor Compact is our most cost-effective audio and video unit. It's available in surface or flush. You can even get a desk mount for it now. Same goes for the Indoor View, and if somebody wants to upgrade through the devices, they actually all share the Talk, the Compact and the View, the same back boxes. View is our own operating system. It's very, very quick. I tend to use it at home. Very fast functions like do not disturb, for instance, or if you want missed call settings or to change the chime, even whether or not you're going to take your umbrella out with you up to day or not, with the weather services. We do a very powerful version of an Android ruggedized tablet as well, Android based, which is the Indoor Touch. That device tends to get used when people want to load other manufacturers' apps on there, such as camera apps. Maybe heating controls, lighting controls, pretty much any control you like really on that device there. And you can actually use that interface to then essentially control your home automation at home, and a nice sort of neat little compact surface mount device. We do a desk mount for that as well, but most people tend to pop that surface on the wall. Next slide, please. Okay, so mobile video, what's this really all about? Okay, well, you're in when you're not, essentially. If you're anything like me and you order quite a lot of things online, and your postman generally swears at you because they don't fit through your letterbox, then this is a particularly good service to have. It might be you're 2 minutes away, come around the corner. It might be you're driving down the motorway in your car and it comes through on your car kit, and you can literally talk to the person from your steering remote controls. And you can also game or let people in or not, or activate certain doors or storage boxes and that sort of thing. If you do miss a call, it will show you've actually missed the call on there. It will give you burst shots of that person that's on there, time, picture, etc. You can actually have the facility to phone back immediately One thing that a couple of guys have done recently, which is I thought was quite interesting, is there's been some thefts of some cars lately around in our local area. One chap noticed somebody around his car. Obviously, with an intercom outside, you've got the ability to speak to them. He activated his mobile video and shouted out through the intercom, "This is God watching. Might be a good idea to leave now, boys. You in the red cap. I believe you've got a big screwdriver." And the lads essentially got the hell out of there. That's kind of almost like a speaking camera, if you like, but it was certainly a situation where he could deal with a potential threat or a situation where it could have got a bit nasty. He went down there with a tool maybe to deal with them. He was able to discourage them and them to go away. Again, this service kind of helps when you've got some remote changes to do on systems as well. So through My2N, as opposed to mobile video, you can actually make some changes into the system with changing codes, temporary codes, that sort of thing as well, which is quite an interesting function. And one thing which differs to your inverted commas video doorbells is this is a secure, non-hackable service that we do charge for because it's on our servers controlled by us, and there's no risk of being listened into from that point as well. Next slide, please. Access Commander. So some call it the glue that glues everything together. On the larger systems, it just enables you to make changes on the system and deploy them out to different devices on the system. It helps you manage cards and identifiers of people. One person can have up to 3 different identifiers. You might have a code, a keypad, code on a keypad even, a fingerprint reader, a Bluetooth reader, a biometric reader, an RFID reader maybe, different ones there. You can turn their functions on and off. You can have it where it works at certain times and doesn't. You can put bank holidays into there. You can output visitor management reports. You can pretty much sort of, well, you can control the whole system and update the whole system from that device. It's not needed if you're going to go for some of the smaller one-to-one or one-to-2 systems, but it's there for people that want to have that level of control over the majority of their systems there. You can also download a demo directly from our website and have a play around with it yourself. There's a facility to add. I think there's 5 users and 1 product on there, so you can have a real good play around with the Access Commander software there. You don't always need a PC. We do an Access Commander box, so if you don't want to splash out, you know, 500-600 quid on a nice PC for about half that cost, you can get an Access Commander box, load your licenses to it for the different services you want, and off you pop generally. Okay.
Cool. Oh, gone one too far there. Thanks for that, Matt. I just wanted to go through now to talk you through what ProVu can do to help. So you've been shown all this really cool kit and you're thinking you might have a demand for it, but it is a little daunting because it's inevitably slightly more complex than your current core business, especially for those of you that mainly focus on your IP comms and handsets. But it's cool, we get it, it is daunting and you do want to get it right. So that's exactly why we, ProVu, are here to help you as your distributor. So your step number 1 would be consultation. So we are here at the other end of the line to help you put together the right solution for your customer. And for those of you who already know us, you will know that we are mostly a tech-led business. We've always had more techies in our building than salespeople. And then our sales staff have always been technically trained to do far more than just place your orders. So we know the products really well and we'd always be glad to help. So whether you know what you're doing and you just need a little bit of advice, or you'd like us to help you put it together from start to finish with every last detail in between, either way, you can give us a call. Once you do know what you need and your customer is happy to go ahead, you may decide that you'd like us to pre-commission the units. So by this, I mean we can get them set up to work on your platform, we can carry out a couple of test calls to make sure everything's working as you expect it, and we can even go as far as testing the camera and video feed for your chosen video phone. So whether that's one you're shipping with the kit from us at the same time, or whether it's a video phone you may already have on site. Now, the next question you might be asking yourself is, how am I going to install the units? I know what I need, but I don't have a Scooby about what goes where or where it's meant to sit. It's not my area of expertise. Now, there are a few roads you can go down with this. You may decide, if you have engineers already that go on site, you may decide that you want to train them to also be able to do the job. Quite a few of our customers will either do that, which will, of course, will require extra training on your side, or you could partner up with a local installation company to do that side of the job. However, if you do want to make life even simpler, you could just make use of ProVu's white label installation services. So this is where we will send an accredited 2N installer to your customer's site to get everything installed. So that, combined with the commissioning services, it means that you could order the kit from us to be put straight onto your customer's building without ever having to touch the equipment. So that, for you as a reseller, would be a massive time and travel cost saving. Now, your final stages, once you've gone through that, will have been completed, but don't forget, we are here to help you with remote support and troubleshooting post-sale. So our technical support engineers have got years of experience with 2N. So whether it may be a fault and you just need some technical advice, or maybe you want to book some time in with an engineer to help with remote configuration and installation, either way, again, we're here to help you every step of the way. So all these services here are there to allow you to add value to your business with the least amount of hassle. So thanks for listening today. Hopefully that's given you everything you need to know, but we are now taking questions. I have actually seen a couple of these through as we were going along, but feel free to pop some more in as we do these. So the first one, Matt, that came through was going back to your slide on the My2N. The question was, you've mentioned you can answer calls from your mobile. Are there any other ways to access these calls?
Sorry, repeat the question again for me.
So you mentioned you can answer phone calls from the mobile. Are there any other ways to answer these calls?
Through My2N service onto your mobile, yeah, okay. So you can set that up to sort of work a few different ways. So say, for instance, you had an intercom on a house or office where somebody called around there first, you could set it so it could ring the mobile and all the answer units in the premise at the same time, or you could do like a series of calls on there as well. So you might have it where somebody will come on to the intercom and they'll press the button, it'll ring the 2 units in the house for say 5 rings, and then it'll divert off to the My2N service. The other thing about using your mobile in those sorts of devices is obviously we've got a Bluetooth, which we call wave key credential on there as well. So as well as answering that call on your phone, whether it be, you know, if you're in the middle of Tesco's or, you know, driving in your car or stop somewhere, you can also use your mobile phone to actually gain access into your house via the Bluetooth secure method on your phone. If you're using some of the more modern phones as well, that's also obviously protected by via face detection to open the app, and certainly a fingerprint on Android too. So yeah, multiple different ways really.
Thank you. A question from me actually on that, if you don't mind. Am I right in thinking that there is, if you're not necessarily using My2N, but there is an app you can download on your desktop to not necessarily answer calls, but at least view the camera feed and see?
Yes, okay. So what you'll have with some of the more cost-effective phone systems, or certainly some of the ones that are a little bit older, is they don't always have screens in the IP phones themselves. So if you have got a call coming through and it's coming through to a phone that's associated with that PC, we do a little bit of free software actually called I. And what that'll enable you to do is take the audio on the phone that's connected to the PC, but you'll be able to see the call at the same time. I think you can actually see up to 4 cameras when it comes at the same time as well. So it's quite useful if you're using it on, say, different barriers with different intercoms and whatnot. Yeah, many different options with what we do. Essentially, if you can think it, we can pretty much do it here at 2N. We do a lot of cause and effect type of programming, integration kind of programming. So you can pretty much do what you like on most systems, with some some very complicated reporting off the back of it as well if needed.
Thank you. We are also being asked here, what systems do 2N integrate with PBX-wise?
Pretty much all of them. On our website, I think I mentioned before, we have an interoperability guide, which was a hell of a word to get out of the first time I read it. What that does is it links all the different systems, whether it be the IP PBX, whether it be a security management system, whether it be an IP phone, and to what level of integrations on there as well. At the same time, you can speak to any of us guys. You know, we're always pleased to be talking to the engineers. Most of us are actual ex-engineers. I do believe that most people, you know, wanting to help you guys and certainly sell this stuff does need to have some good engineering experience behind them. And we do help out from time to time on some of the more complicated sites.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the warranty on these products?
Well, it's essentially a 3-year standard warranty on the units, but you can actually extend them for 4 or 5 years for a percentage of the cost. And that's certainly something some people tend to do on managed services, that sort of thing. Meantime before failure rate, believe it or not, is approaching 11 years now. So a very, 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 very reliable system. And to be honest with you, having worked for 2N now for just over 6 years, and looking around the place, some of the systems that I remember putting in the first instance look as fresh as they did the day we actually installed them. One of the main reasons for that is the way the actual product's been built by engineers for engineers, and the fact that you can keep it nice and clean, and we have very hard wearing surfaces that are our devices too.
Okay, thank you. I've just got another question on the back of that again, if that's okay, just in case anyone else might be thinking the same. The extended warranty that you mentioned is, do you have to purchase that at the time that you're buying the unit, or can you buy that further down the line, let's say in your second year? Or?
I believe it's available. It's something we were looking at this year, but I think it's available still up to 12 months of purchase of that particular product. It's certainly something we can check for you if that's something somebody's interested in.
Okay, I was just wondering for that, but I'm sure that would be the question we get asked. So that's great.
Most people tend to sort of look at what they're looking at in the first instance on the project, and then sort of go from there. I can't remember the last time I saw one after somebody had actually took delivery of the kit. It's usually bought at the same time as they're buying the product normally. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll just give it another 30 seconds, see if anything else comes through. In the meantime, if anyone does have any questions that they can't think of now but think of later, you do have both of our email addresses there, so do feel free to get in contact. In fact, another one just come through about security. So it says they're asking, how secure are the units from someone attacking the door lock release?
Well, the truth is very, and there's a big reason for that. We're the only company, believe it or not, to operate something called a security relay. And to be honest with you, when I first joined the company, I couldn't believe that people had left this loop open for as long as they had. Those people that know how electrical locks work out there, essentially all you've got to do is give the lock voltage or take voltage away from the lock for it to change state, or what most people call lock or unlock. So if you've got a 12-volt battery and stuck it onto most people's access control systems out there, unfortunately, you'd either activate that lock, or if you cut the wire to the lock, you'd open the door. Quite a schoolboy level kind of way of thinking here. I guess we tend to think of it more because we're more from the security side of it. But what we do is we put a little relay very close into where the actual lock itself's in the frames, which have been hidden in the frames. You literally have to start smashing the frame apart to get to it. And what that does is it has a algorithm that's twinned with the intercom that will only allow the unlock voltage through once it sees that algorithm. Now, the coding on that, if you brute force attack it, for those people that are a little bit more from the security side and are used to that term without me giving anything away on the SC side of things, takes about 16 weeks, which is a long time to be stood at somebody's front door trying to get in. They'll probably have gone through the window, driven the car through the wall at that point. The other thing we do on the security side as well is we do the internet security, so the high level transaction security that we do online as well, which is why 2N is the most secure access control and intercom company that's presently out there, and one of the reasons why we were bought by a very large camera company called Access, that's obviously it's also part of Canon as well. And we get used to look after people like the Royal Guard and things like that. So very, very, very secured systems. My background's high security as well. So if anybody does have those sorts of projects to work on, more than willing to help.
Thank you, Matt. We don't seem to have any more questions. So again, we can just give it a moment, and if nothing comes through, we'll close off. But yeah, as I said before, both of our email addresses are on there, so don't feel shy.